Those who are going to attend, come on in. Good afternoon, everyone. Trust everybody had a good and tasty lunch. Hopefully we can stay awake now that our bellies are full. My name's Kevin Washington. I am on the summit chair with Mike Davis, and it's our responsibilities to execute the summit. We want to thank you for coming out this afternoon, and I have the sincere pleasure of introducing the fine crew from Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission and the Dayton Development Coalition. We have on our panel today Julie Black, Matt Shimp, and Ami Parikh. Just a little information about Julie. She's a senior planner at Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. She specializes in research, mapping, census data, and technological tools she can use to turn data into insight for the public. She received her master's in urban planning from the University of Louisville. Julie has been a member of AICP since 2010, and she serves on the Miami Valley Planning and Zoning Workshop Conference Committee. Matt is a data analyst from Dayton Development Coalition. Matt has been with DDC since 2014, where he manages the site selection, administration, research, and other related activities for Jobs Ohio West team. He is also the point of contact for Site Ohio. Prior to joining DDC, Matt spent a year with the Athens County Economic Development Council. Matt attended Ohio University, where he received his bachelor's degree in geography and pre-law. We are also joined by Ami Parikh. She is Transportation Project Manager for MVRPC. Ami has over 18 years of planning experience and manages the preparation of the long-range transportation plan for MVRPC. Ami has also assisted in project management on a wide range of programs, including corridor, regional, multimodal studies such as freight studies, congestion management, transportation performance management. Ami is AICP certified and holds a master's degree in transportation from MIT, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and a bachelor's degree in urban planning from SPA, New Delhi, India. Let's give our panel a big hand. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie Black, and I'm just going to kick this off by, we've already been introduced, but a couple of things that I wanted to mention before we get started, and that is my supervisor and my boss have handed you a handout, excuse me, and I wanted to say that nearly everything that you're going to see here on the slides is going to be available on the links that are on that handout. And if you really want to see the slides, then you can contact any of us, and our contact information is at the bottom of that handout. And I'll let Ami take it from here.
Thank you, Julie. Good afternoon. Today, Julie, Matt, and I are going to present information on the economic trends in the Dayton region based on a series of economic profiles that were completed by MVRPC and the DDC. So here's brief information about MVRPC. The Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission is a metropolitan planning organization for the Dayton region. It serves as the MPO for Montgomery, Miami, Greene counties, and northern Warren County in south central Ohio. As an MPO, we are required to do prepare, implement, monitor, and update a variety of transportation plans for this region. We also serve as the Regional Planning Commission for this region and additionally 2 counties, Darke and Preble. We do environmental planning for our RPC region. We also have an in-house planning department which provides assistance with a number of planning studies both in-house and for our member jurisdictions. We are also a data repository for our member jurisdictions. We provide GIS and census and traffic count information to whoever needs it. Matt's going to talk about the DDC.
The Dayton Development Coalition is a regional economic nonprofit organization. We were established in 1994 to support regional economic development initiatives and activities. Under the Dayton Development Coalition, we are a 14-county market representing nearly 2 million people. But under Jobs Ohio, we cover a 12-county footprint, so everything minus Butler and Warren County. Next. Under the Dayton Development Coalition, we have 4 primary arms in which we operate. We have the Jobs Ohio West team, which is where I spend most of my time. We are one of 6 Jobs Ohio network partners supporting economic programs for our 12 counties. We have our Accelerant team, which focuses on entrepreneurial development, supporting pre-seed capital companies with business planning and other technical support. We have our Priority Development Advocacy Committee, or PDAC, which is an exercise that we do to prioritize the different initiatives in the region that could be benefited by federal or state funding. And then finally, we have our Aerospace and Defense team, and due to RIPAD's heavy economic impact on the region, we spend a lot of time focusing and supporting the interests of the base as to not lose installations or other things. So we accomplish that through a variety of different programs, such as Hometown Heroes and other programs.
So in today's session, I'm going to present a regional snapshot of freight and transportation infrastructure and industry trends based on Miami Valley's regional freight profile. And Julie and Matt are going to talk about regional economic trends for a broader region. And they're also going to discuss tools and resources to conduct some of these economic analyses and get economic information for the region that are available out there. And we are going to keep questions and answers to the end of the session. So this is a link to the Miami Valley Regional Freight Profile. It was completed in May of last year, and it was developed to document freight movement trends in the region. This is the MPO region, 3-county region, plus Northern Warren County. And today we are going to talk about freight transportation infrastructure and the economic impact of freight in our region, but the freight profile also covers a variety of other topics such as transportation system reliability, safety, performance-based freight planning. So if you're interested in any of those topics, you're welcome to click to go to this link and read more about it. So freight moves in the Miami Valley region primarily over 4 modes. Trucking is supported by the National Highway System, which is the backbone of freight movement in our region, along with ancillary facilities such as truck rest areas, truck terminals, CNG fueling stations. Then railroads, air cargo is transported at the Dayton International Airport, pipelines that supply fuel to our area, and intermodal connections where one mode of transport connects to the other, and these are especially important for the last mile delivery. So the National Highway System, Miami Valley has around 7,000 miles of roadways, of which 600 miles is the National Highway System. It comprises 3 interstates, I-70, I-75, and I-71. Freeways and principal arterials. And trucks carry more than 140 million tons of goods annually on our region's roadways. And along with ancillary facilities, like I mentioned, the NHS is the backbone of freight movement in our region, primarily because trucking dominates freight movement in our region. So it helps serve both the region's and the nation's economy by moving trade and commerce. Okay, coming to railroads, there are 2 Class 1 railroads in the Miami Valley, CSX Transportation and Norfolk Southern Corporation. Together they operate over 100 miles of mainline track. CSX has around 60 miles of track between Northern Warren County and Northern Miami and the Miami County border. And Norfolk Southern has around 41 miles of track between Northern Warren County and Clark County. There are no regional railroads, but we do have a local short line haul railroad, which is the Germantown Railroad Siding Company. And together these railroads carry more than 2.8 million tons of freight in our region. They're served by 3 rail yards, and there are 186 at-grade crossings, railroad crossings in the region. Those are typically important because of the crashes that we witness at railroad crossings are very severe in intensity. The Dayton International Airport is our primary air cargo carrier. In 2017, it carried nearly 8,500 tons of air freight, 95% of which was FedEx freight. And this map shows the extensive pipeline network that we have in our region, which provides us oil and gas for our energy needs. We also have a large concentration of pipeline terminals right around the Valley Street area in Dayton. And pipeline truck is the most prevalent intermodal connection where fuel is transported. It comes in to our region through pipelines, and then it's transported on trucks to the various terminals. So last year, the freight profile was updated with the latest employment projections from 2010 to 2050. And these are a few of the highlights. 60% of the region is employed in the service sector, and 30% is employed in freight-intensive industries. By that I mean manufacturing, construction, wholesale and retail trade, transportation and logistics. And another key statistic to note is that the transportation and logistics sector is forecast to grow by 60% by 2050. A big reason for this is that in recent years, a lot of emphasis has been placed in the region to develop it as a logistics hub by capitalizing on its many location, transportation network, and workforce assets. And because of that, there have been many major investments made on the region's freight transportation network. MVRPC has supported some big projects, such as the I-75 subcorridor reconstruction, widening of I-70 corridor, the improvements to exit 47 near the UPS and Few Glass America site. And then there are several major projects in pipeline, like improvements to US 35 in Greene and Montgomery counties. So as a result of these continuous stream of investments and upgrades to the region's interchanges and intersections, the distribution centers are on the increase, and the region has built up a large presence of logistics industry has built a large presence in the region. Even though manufacturing it has been surpassed in the number of jobs by the service sector, the region continues to be a home location for a lot of industries that traditionally generate heavy freight. The regional freight profile also has a discussion on the type of industries we have in the Miami Valley and the kind of freight they generate. We used QCW business inventory data coupled it with our MVRPC's internal tracking of new developments in the region to identify freight-intensive businesses and where they are located. And as you can see from the map, they're primarily concentrated along the entire length of the I-75 corridor that also has the highest industrial zoning in the region. And finally, the freight profile talks about the importance of manufacturing and logistics to Ohio and the region's economy. And like I mentioned, that because of the region's strategic location at the crossroads of I-70 and I-75 and all the infrastructure improvements, the logistics industry is forecast to become one of the major industries in the region. According to Wright State University report, in 2015, it was estimated that the logistics industry is a $2.5 billion industry, representing 20,000 permanent jobs, $855 million of labor income, and over $27 million in taxes, in tax revenues. So this is in 2010, MVRPC partnered with OKI, which is the Cincinnati region MPO, to collect data on freight flows through our region. And as this table shows, trucking dominates freight movement in the Miami Valley. It carries 98% of freight by volume and 99% of freight by value. The volume is projected to double by 2040. So those investment upgrades need to keep happening so that Dayton can compete on the global stage. This is a map showing the truck traffic on our major freight corridors. And as expected, I-70 and I-75 are the busiest freight truck carrying corridors in the region. US 35 in Greene County also carries above state average truck traffic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie.
Thanks, Ami. And I'm going to shift a little bit to speak about the regional economic profiles that MVRPC and DDC prepared together. I understand that Dr. Stock has recently presented to I-70-75 some similar information as to what you're going to see right now. But I'd like to point out that his focus is typically the CBSA or the 3-county area, and our focus is broader. We cover territory over 6 counties, and DDC has an even larger purview. So I just wanted to start off by showing you something that's not going to shock anyone, and that is looking at the 6-county perspective. We can see how our area has really tracked closely with Ohio in terms of job numbers. This is a job index chart. And this chart is also, the patterns on this chart are very similar to what we see in the numbers of businesses, the same trajectory. You know, growth between 2004 and 2007, the recession, and then a recovery. And this is an animated GIF, and I'm presenting it this way, not so you can read it, but I just wanted to point out here that 4 of our industries make up the vast majority of our jobs, and it does vary by county, but I did want to point out how large these 4 industries take. Like I said, green is sort of an outlier, but there's no question that government, right, Pat, and manufacturing are just huge parts of our economy. And in terms of the location quotient, or the relative concentration of jobs, we're strongest in manufacturing and healthcare, which just happens to be, you know, some of our largest industries. And here I wanted to point out how different those 4 major industries have changed depending on the geography. They show how the trajectories are very different depending on what industry we're talking about. The biggest change in terms of the numbers of jobs has been in healthcare, which is no shock, and transportation and warehousing. I don't know if anybody's detecting a theme here. And so those grew by 29% and 23% respectively between 2004 and 2016.
For this presentation, I wanted to make a special focus on manufacturing. So we look at what are called NAICS codes, the industry classification system for industries in the United States. Within manufacturing, there are 2-digit NAICS and 6-digit NAICS, so as detailed as you want to get or as high level. For this, I chose 4 because it's right in the middle. So right there at the bottom, you'll see on the blue line, there is a significant drop between '08 and '09. We can attribute that almost directly to the relocation of GM, the shutdown of GM plant in Moraine. And at that same time, you can see the light blue line up at the top, yellow and orange, all decreasing in that same time period. The reason for this is because there were all support activities for motor vehicle manufacturing. So on the very bottom line, the industry is motor vehicle manufacturing, which would be your final assembly, and up at the top is motor vehicle parts manufacturing. So that could be stamped sides, that could be interior components, and many other things. Despite GM leaving in 2008 and 9, the Dayton region has seen impressive growth across motor vehicle manufacturing and recovery in plastics and other support industries, primarily due to our good location between 2 major Honda assembly plants, one in Marysville and one in Indiana. The 2 plants manufacturing the Accord, the CRV, and the Civic, some of the top-selling automobiles in the United States. And for the vast majority of our automotive suppliers, they supply Honda. I would say roughly 75%. If they are an automotive manufacturer, they are almost guaranteed to be a Honda supplier in the Dayton region. I also wanted to point out a couple of different manufacturing trends where we are in decline. The first, the one that I want to point out is the printing and related support activities sector. This is not unique to the Dayton region. It is a trend that is occurring nationwide. We decline at about a 35% rate, whereas the United States and Ohio decline at about 30%, so relatively in line. And it's not at all surprising with the widespread conversion to digital media that we're seeing that effect in the number of jobs that they represent. One of the other reasons behind the decline in those number of jobs is several layoffs that have occurred over the years in paper and printing, such as Appleton, Senvio, and Westrock and Washington Courthouse, among others. It would be logical to assume that this industry would be growing at that same rate that we are seeing e-commerce growing in the United States, but because that industry that supports e-commerce is primarily paper, board, box, corrugated box manufacturing and not the printing, that's the industry that's going to see the exponential growth along with e-commerce. You'll also notice the light blue line kind of in the middle towards the bottom of this chart. That is for navigational measuring and electromedical manufacturing equipment. You'll notice a massive decrease in jobs between 14, 15, and 16. And when I saw this, I anticipated being able to look at news articles, warn notices from the state, and see a plethora of layoffs or closures that occurred over the past couple of years in that industry, but I did not find anything, which was very surprising to me. So my only explanation for this decrease, and going back to what I was saying about NAICS codes, those are industry classification codes that a company assigns to themselves, what they feel that they align with the most. So periodically, companies, as they change their industry focus, the types of products and services that they're offering, they may choose a different NAICS code to go under, and that would be reflected in this decreased job count. On this slide, I wanted to just kind of point out the general wage changes that we've seen in manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare over the last year. At no surprise, healthcare has grown the quickest. As our older population retires out of the workforce and our other aging population, there has been a significant need, demand for various healthcare services and a diversified types of services such as home health care, among others. Manufacturing is nice to see that it has been steadily increasing for the last 10 years, despite a decrease in '08 and '09, no surprise there. But it is a good thing to be able to report that we are at a point now where we are at about 6% higher wages in manufacturing than we were 10 years ago. So we are on a great trajectory in that regard. One thing you'll probably notice is this huge downward curve in logistics between '09 and 2010. And you may think to yourself, well, we've been excelling in logistics, why is this the case? Well, at that time, ABX Air and DHL in Wilmington, in Clinton County, Wilmington, Ohio, had vacated the county. That brought with them thousands of jobs, took away thousands of jobs. And when you look at the types of wages across rail freight, air freight, and regular truck freight, wage rates in air freight cargo is much, much, much higher. So that company leaving the county, and because this data is reflective of 12 different counties, just that one company had that dramatic of an increase on the wage rates we see in logistics.
And for the workers who earn those wages, I'm going to, this chart shows you what should be a pretty familiar pattern. 6-county area tracking nicely with Ohio. You can see the recession, and then you can see the uneven recovery. I did want to point out that the number of unemployed workers has gone below 2004 levels, and it had the unemployed numbers had met the same percentage, it met 100% at in 2004, and so we even have even fewer unemployed workers now, contributing to a tighter labor market, which is something that Matt's going to speak about later. Another aspect of the workforce that we like to look at is the journey to work. It's kind of where all of our interests intersect. A third of the 6-county region, a third of our residents leave for work, but nearly as many come into the 6-county region from outside. And as you can see, the bulk of people live and work in the 6-county area. I will say that this pattern does not, if you go down into the county level, you're not going to see the same trends that you would see in Montgomery County than you would in, say, Warren County, where there's an entirely different dynamic going on.
So a couple of different trends for the future, just a few bullet points. Technical manufacturing positions will continue to be in very high demand as manufacturing processes become more technical and more sophisticated. General assembly, general labor, while will still continue to be a high demand, those jobs with high skills will be in the highest demand. Healthcare will continue to grow as population enters retirement years, like I had said in previous slides. The diversification of healthcare services and occupation types that have arisen in the last few years will continue in that direction. We also have an ever-tightening labor market. Unemployment rates are at historic lows, lower than they have been in a decade, and that will call for more sophisticated recruitment tactics. Higher wages and benefits will most likely be seen as a result of companies becoming more competitive, competing for that technical labor without that skills mismatch. This isn't on here, but I just want to throw also, I anticipate a continued focus on the automotive parts industry as that continues to grow and as Honda continues to dominate the sedan market, which is good news for us since we're smack dab between two major assembly plants producing some of the sedans that make up a majority of sedan sales in the United States. and with the fact that Ford has announced a multi-year plan to move away from the sedan market and only offer one or two, I imagine that will lend a huge benefit to Honda and our suppliers that we have here in the Dayton region.
So in terms of future trends for freight, there is a US DOT report titled The National Freight Strategy Framework Beyond Traffic 2045 that states that the freight industry is undergoing a technological revolution. Lots of innovative applications are being developed, such as connecting shippers directly with trucks, eliminating middlemen brokerage firms, so to speak, Uber for freight, personalized delivery services such as drones, and then many emerging technologies are concurrently being developed, whether it's connected vehicles or autonomous trucks. Virtually every manufacturer out there is dabbling in some form of automation. At the same time, availability of trained workforce and driver shortage remain a big concern for the freight industry, especially because this is a big factor in selecting sites for future investments. So what does this all mean for MPOs like us, where we would continue to keep abreast of these developments and support best practices and adoption of new technologies and keep the public and our board engaged as needed?
So you might be wondering, how do we do this type of analysis? At the DDC, we have a tool called EMSI, Economic Modeling Specialists Incorporated, I think. But what EMSI allows us to do is perform economic analysis for anything from setting organizational goals to be sure of ourselves that the types of initiatives and industry clusters that we go after are the right ones. It allows us to explore areas of the United States where we would likely have better luck in attracting those types of industries. And it also allows decision makers, when we are supporting a new location, a site selection project, it allows decision makers, the consultant or the company, to make an informed decision about where the ideal place for them to establish a presence would be. This resource offers things such as NAICS codes, the industry classification system, SOC codes, which are the standard occupation codes, which allows us to look at individual jobs and how they fare. Because it's not just jobs in an industry, one type of job can fit into multiple types of industry, such as assembly, just as an example. Not only that, but we can also look at education data. So when we're supporting a site selection project, and we are able to say that we have a very technical, highly educated workforce. When we're able to look at program completions in different types of engineering and things like that, it goes more to prove our case when we're out prospecting. Another great resource for us, and in my eyes, because half of my job is site selection, is the Sites and Buildings Inventory database. So if you've been in economic development for any period of time, I'm sure you're familiar, at least at some point, with a site selection database. We unveiled this tool, this specific database, 2 years ago. But not only does it serve as an inventory for buildings and industrial parks, it's a open research tool as well for consultants and companies that are exploring possibly establishing a presence in the Dayton region. So say a prospect is looking for 100,000 square feet, they find a building, but then they want to know, am I going to have sufficient access to logistics labor if I choose this position, if I choose this location? How would that compare if I chose this building in Miami County as opposed to one in Preble, for example? So it allows them to make very informed decisions about where their company should establish a presence.
One thing that the DDC has that MVRPC does not, and this is why they're such a great partner, is they have a budget for research tools like EMSI. We do not, and so what we do is we look really hard for free data. And this is the basis of all of EMSI's data, and Anything else that you see, the census is our rock and our foundation. And so I just wanted to point this out. Fact Finder is not necessarily the most intuitive tool to use, but I know that you can contact MVRPC anytime and speak to us, and we're here to help you navigate Fact Finder. But I did want to show you what an example of what you may see on Fact Finder. I have pulled up educational attainment. So I also have Greene County pulled up. So if you want to know what the educational attainment in Greene County is, it's really quite simple once you get the knack of it to pull up that information quickly. Another tool that I enjoy quite a bit is On the Map. It's another Census Bureau product, and I'd like to demonstrate it for you in just a moment. In On the Map, you may select your geography of interest, and that can be pretty broad. You can even import a KML file if you have, or a shape file if you have it. In the case of somebody with an irregular boundary, like the MPO, for example, DDC. So what this provides us, and again, this one is free also, is information about the location and characteristics of the folks who are working, and where they live too. But this is sort of a zoomed in, this is kind of detailed information that you can get on the map, and there's just so much more. So like I said, I would like to demonstrate that for you. Anybody want to shout out a county for me, or a city?
Claremont.
So you just searched on Claremont County, and there it is. I clicked that. The internet's going to be really slow because, of course, in a moment, once it loads,
It's a somewhat data-heavy program, say that.
huh,
You know, just go to
there we go. I didn't go to selection. So I told it I wanted Claremont County, and I can confirm, and if I want to compare two counties, I can do that in the advanced selection. Let's see. It's not popping up.
you can just look at a different tool.
Yeah, I may end up doing that. We may have to give On the Map a break here. But what you do end up with is something like this. And what I chose here is there's many different options for choosing a labor analysis. In here I chose the information based on the worker's workplace. And this is aggregated at the census block. It does have a little noise in it for confidentiality purposes. But you can, what I really like about this tool is it has all this data, and I don't know if you can see this, the detailed report, you can export it in whatever format you choose. And I really like the export geography, so I can pull that into my GIS system and create maps very quickly.
Another great thing about this tool is you can look at the types of type of worker, so whether that be goods producing, which would pretty much be all encompassing of manufacturing, and another would be transportation warehouse type positions, For example, on a recent project, the prospect was looking for pockets of logistics labor. We were able to use a combination of MZ and on the map to show them regionally where those pockets of logistics workforce currently is located, so.
And this is the result of the work that DDC and MVRPC are work together. So you saw information on the industry side and you saw information on the occupational side. So we have here the economic base assessment, and I am also going to demonstrate this for you. But zoomed in, I want to point out that the user can just select the geography that they want to look at, and then choose a comparison area, and this is for an LQ analysis, and then select whether you're interested in the industry or occupation. I don't have Claremont because they're not in our region, but I can select Preble County. And if I want to compare it to Ohio, and if I want to look at occupations, I just have these toggles here that I select. And here you have an interactive chart that shows how those occupations are doing. And I really like this tool because I can sit here and page between the counties and look at how, for example, production occupations may be strengthening or weakening depending on the geography. And here also is where you see where the strengths of each county lie. And I wanted to point out Greene County in their industry.
So quite a difference, as you can see.
Yes. So I wanted to point out that Greene County, with the presence of Right Pat, the government industry is very large and very strong. And so, yes, you can, I think this is a great way to look at how the counties compare, and also the six-county area compared to both Ohio and the U.S. at large. And I encourage you to have a look and play around with that tool. At the bottom, depending on what you have selected, more data will appear to give you the details on what the LQ is and the regional shift, and et cetera.
And if you're not aware, LQ is location quotient, is a relative measure of concentration compared to the United States.
And in this case, we actually have the US, or you can have the location quotient for the state if you just want to compare to the state. And we are happy to answer any questions at this point, now that we've demonstrated our tools and resources and told you all about freight. Like I said, the handout has links to all of this information, which we recommend. And again, I'd like to say that if you have any questions, we aren't economists, but we are really great researchers, and we love data. So if you have problems, then we're here to help you.
Matt,
Yes.
in any of this, is there a way of tracking where new workers coming into the area are coming from? So, are they moving from Columbus, or are they coming from Indiana?
There is a data set on the US Census, and it's not a 100% complete data set, but it will tell you the general areas, like they're coming from West Coast or mountain states. And I think it does go as detailed as county or city. I was working with Max McConnell on a video, and he asked me a similar question. Is that related to that?
No.
Oh, all right, wow.
Well, let me ask, are you asking about people who are moving into the region and then for jobs, or are you talking about commuting patterns?
I'm talking people moving into the region for jobs.
Mhm. Yeah, US Census, they do have relocation data sets. And you and I can talk after if that's something you want to explore. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.